This is
ManVsMood.
Episode 14. We are all here today, joined together, round and round we go. To my left, we have
Mike, what's up?
directly across from me, the man in the red hat,
Go Blazers, and this is Gary.
Gary in the house, but most importantly in the house is
Jen.
Jen
I
is
live.
back. She lives.
I live.
She lives. She's with us. She's happy. She's smiling with a gigantic jar of alcohol. I think she's just drinking herself away. No, I'm joking.
Not that I would even notice. You guys have been really great about protecting my privacy, but I had COVID, and I'm not. It's like it is what it is.
The vid.
I had the vid, and it kicked my ass
So I
for
was
2
gonna
solid
say,
weeks.
now that you've told us, can
Yeah.
you give us a little rundown on what it was?
What it was?
Your
What it was like?
experience was like.
Well, we got exposed at my husband's holiday Christmas party, and we didn't know it because it was like party was Friday, Saturday, Sunday go by. Monday morning, we find out that this guy that we chatted with for like 20 minutes, mask off, like everybody's eating, and he was in pretty close proximity because there was a DJ and it was loud, and everybody's trying to hear. Anyway, it was just the perfect circumstances. The next day, he tested positive, and we didn't know till Monday, right? And I had a really stressful weekend. It was the weekend before Christmas, right?
Right.
Which is also, I tested positive on the 21st of December. It's awesome timing.
You and everyone else, it felt like, though.
I know that's
mean,
what
it was just
I felt like I
massive.
entered into a cave and came out, and everybody was like, oh, yeah, I know like 5 different families. And
Definitely.
it was all at the same time.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But
Thanks a lot, Omicron.
it was, yeah. And it was, I had symptoms first in my house. And in the order of people getting symptoms, that it got less and less from each person, which I thought was really interesting. Really? But yeah, it's like I got it first. 2 days later, Skylar came down with it. Arguably, though, we were exposed at the same time, so who knows what that was. But I started getting body aches, and I was kind of confused because it was like I did my last of my Christmas shopping that morning, and by about 4 or 5 o'clock, I started to go, I feel off.
Yeah.
Like
Where something just, you have that twinge, right?
right, and it was just body aches, but it was like my lower back really hurt, and I was starting to get a tension headache. All of those things are not unusual for me, but I just didn't know why yet. And then it dawned on me, Skylar had texted me and said, oh, so-and-so at work tested positive, and we were in close proximity, and he named us as a close contact to be contacted about it. And I was like, awesome.
Thanks a lot, a-hole.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Not that he...
I don't even know if he could
or
tell because, like, I think he tested because he was flying.
Oh.
I don't think he even knew.
Did he even have symptoms?
No. Like, he didn't, not that we could tell. Maybe he had body aches and he didn't know it and didn't know how to, like, articulate that. I don't know, because that's what happened to me on Monday. And I was in public that morning, masked and, like, whatever. But I didn't know. And we knew that we were going to go get tested if we had started to get symptoms of any kind. And so we were kind of on alert, and Skylar was staying home. Like, we were trying to do all the things. Anyway, but I had a really stressful weekend, like, and there's a lot of things going on in my personal life. So I started to get kind of like, I could feel, and tension headaches happen for me when I'm like stressed like that. So I just didn't think anything of it. And I remember sitting at the table and just being like, man, my back hurts so much. And I went and took my temperature, and I had a temperature, and I was like, honestly, because it'd only been a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours since I found out that I had been exposed. And so I was just like, wow, that was a quick incubation.
Yeah.
And that was what's so surprising to me, is that it was such a quick incubation. And then 2 days later, Skylar came down with it. He took care of me for like a Monday and Tuesday, and like Mike brought me eucalyptus oil.
What a good guy.
Because I just
And
like
a cottage pie.
and a cottage pie.
Kind
Kinda,
of cottage pie.
Is
it
that
was
like
like a-
cottage cheese?
No, no, it's kind of like a meat mixture, kind of like with like a
Shepherd's
stew.
pie
It's almost
type
like a
thing?
stew with like a shepherd's pie. Yeah, but this one was it was a paleo version, and because when I eat sugar and carbs when I'm sick, I get sicker like every time. It's like
It drags your body down.
clockwork. Yeah. And so I was like trying to figure out, and Skylar was busy trying to do all these Christmas things for me, and I didn't want to put pressure on somebody else to take care of me. And so I was just like, food would be fabulous right now, but I'm also kind of picky about what I take in when I'm sick, and so I feel bad. So I had to be really specific with Mike. Can you get me this one particular frozen item food in the top
From
shelf and natural
nature.
grocers?
Natural
grocers on 192nd.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, I hate being specific like that because I feel like I'm being picky.
Don't worry about it.
And I've learned that I've had to just let it go.
I dropped it off by the door, and I backed way far away before they opened the door.
Yeah.
And the
I
plague
waved
came
at
out.
you.
Yeah,
you caught
you-
me as
you-
you were driving away. I was like, thank you.
I didn't
like
see
outbreak.
you. Michelle saw you.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, she's like, someone's up there waving. I'm like, oh, it's probably Genevieve.
Thank you.
We love you.
I appreciate you.
Get better. We're not coming near you.
Yeah, no, so the first 3 days, no big deal as far as that goes. Like, I was icing my back a lot, and my eyes hurt. My eyes hurt so bad. And, you can't control eye movement.
No,
Like,
you can't.
Even when you're
unless you close
sleeping,
them.
it would, like, wake me up. My eyes hurt so bad. That has never happened to me before. And then I had the back pain, and that was the first 3 days. And then day 4, I started to get congested. And I was like,
Really? It
Yeah, it took
lasted
4
that
days.
long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like Christmas Eve. The night before Christmas Eve, I started to go, nope, no, and it hit me like a freight train. It was pretty bad. I was like chasing a sinus infection the whole time, and like it was not cool. And then it started to settle in my chest, and then I started to panic because it was like Christmas Day when I started to cough, like heavy coughs, and I was like, nothing's open. It's snowing. Like, accessibility would be so hard right now.
Yeah.
And everybody's busy. Nobody can bring me anything because the weather's nasty, and I'm not going to ask.
Stores are closed.
I
Stores
wasn't
are
doing anything.
closed.
You could have asked me.
Oh, I know. I could have asked for some things, but I kind of didn't know what I needed at that point because I didn't need doctor intervention at that point. And it was just in this weird holding place of like,
You just kind of
wait
have
and
to
see.
ride the
Yeah.
wave.
And I was on a supplement protocol that I think helped tremendously. But it was like by Monday, I felt like I was out of danger, but I was still coughing a lot, and I had a lot of stuff going on in my sinuses, and I was still just like,
You don't have a cough now.
and I could barely function. No, I don't have a cough now. I have some lingering like post-nasal drip, and I'm on day 14. But I started to feel semi-human by about like the 30th, which was solid 10 days after first symptoms. I started to go, okay, I can sit up in bed. I couldn't function. Like getting up and just taking care of myself was so exhausting. I felt like I was sleeping all day.
Really?
Like, so it was like the energy was really hard. And then by day, like, it was pretty late, like day like 8, that's when my smell and my taste disappeared, and it's gone. Like, gonzo.
You have no.
Like, I'm wearing deodorant for everyone else, okay? Like, I have no idea what the smells are going on. Like, cooking has been really interesting because I'm like, somebody come taste this. I don't even know. I made red sauce last night, and I had to have Skylar taste it like 6 times because I couldn't smell it and I couldn't taste it.
That's
and that's
irritating.
how I make red sauce, is based off my senses. So I'm feeling a little handicapped at the moment because I already have, like, bad hearing. I have no smell and no taste. So it's
Well,
like,
you fit in really well with this crew, so because we're all just kind of walking triage units, but
So we have the handicap.
yeah,
We have the token white guy, our token black guy,
yeah,
and now
our
The
token
COVID handicap.
disaster.
Yeah.
Our token disaster. That's what I feel like.
no smell, no taste,
It's so
and half
weird.
deaf.
Yeah, it's so
And
weird.
together we make the opposite of the A team.
Yeah, right. The Z team.
Can you
We're here.
Can you say I pity the fool?
Oh, man.
Pity the fool?
With my gold chains on.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm functioning. I can go in society. It's been 14 days now. This is my first time like being around people besides my family.
Well, we're glad to have you back. We're glad that you're.
I'm glad to be around.
It's good to
Actually
see
put
you.
on makeup today.
Yeah, right.
Watch out.
Well, it's those little things that after you're being sick or been down, if an injury or something like that when you're re-entering society, it feels good to do, like, just put deodorant on, knowing the anticipation of, hey, I'm going to get to see people, interact, and that's why it's so important for us to make sure that we do interact with people and not shut ourselves. I mean, obviously sickness or whatever notwithstanding, but a lot of people like to just sit in their home locked up, and it perpetuates a lot of the mental health issues that they may have.
And I gotta say, it was really interesting. I wasn't quiet with people I knew that I had COVID because, one, I didn't want them to feel like I was like disappearing. Like, I kind of wanted people to know that I was okay and that people were caring for me and it was fine. 2, I needed certain people to know that there was possible exposure there. Like, so I was like, there is no point in keeping this to myself. Like, there's, And it
especially with the longevity of it.
yes, for
2
how
weeks
long
is
it
a
is.
long time. To be
Yeah, and like my mom, she came down with it way later. She's older, she's 67, and we were just like, ay, like I don't know if this is gonna go well. And so we've been watching her really closely, but she's vaccinated and she handled it better than I did. Like her body handled it better than me. And so we're watching her really closely, but she's still on day 9. Like, and so it's not like, and that's the ripple effect that I didn't anticipate, is how late other people were getting it. Like when the first person in the house gets it, you're not quarantining for 10 days. You're quarantining for much longer.
Oh, yeah.
Like my husband's work won't let him come back into the office until he's been completely symptom free for 3 days, regardless of how long it's been. And so,
but that goes against what the CDC guidelines
know.
are now, which
I
were
know.
kind of bullshit to begin
and
with.
he just has a dry cough. But when he gets sick of any kind, it's like his respiratory system gets irritated and he will dry cough forever. And they
Does
were
he
like,
get that seal bark cough? Like,
no, not that bad. No,
I
not
used
that
to
bad,
get
fortunately.
that as a kid.
But
Oh, I
he'll
hate
get
that. It
a
hurts so
tickle and
bad.
it's like gone. He'll be coughing for like 10 minutes. It's like, and then he has to have a drink
really?
of something warm and that'll help cool things down, like just like bring it down a notch. But it's interesting seeing how other people handle us being sick. How I didn't anticipate the longevity of the household and what that meant for the household.
Yeah, because once you get it, then it goes
Like I'm worried about my
downstream.
dad. He hasn't gotten it, but he's definitely not out of danger of getting it.
Oh, of course.
Still,
not.
right?
I mean, we're
I
all-
know. And anyway, so I
But it
just
could
had
cause, you have what, 8 people in the house? 7?
6.
6.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, theoretically, this could be a month and a half situation.
yeah, for how long it takes everyone. And so now we're like, yeah, anyway, so now we're just feel like we're on constant watch of like everyone's symptoms and how they're doing and things like that. And also being in quarantine, having my husband and I both get really sick. Like we were both stuck in bed. And
On Christmas.
on Christmas, like shout out to my mom. Like it would not have happened for my kids if it wouldn't have been for her. I was able to get my butt out of bed and sit on the couch. That's it. I couldn't put wrapping in a bag. I could barely like keep the energy up.
Christmas, kids.
Yeah, basically I was like unwrapping presents and just be like, thank you so much. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't even appreciate anything that was going on, but you know, it was Christmas is really about kids anyway, and like my mom single-handedly made that happen. And then the
That's
day
awesome.
after Christmas came down with COVID.
Oh, really?
I think the sheer stress
Yeah.
like
Well, yeah,
caused her
'cause
to
it-
contract it. Like honestly, she was so stressed about it. She did prime rib dinner on Friday. Couldn't taste a thing. That was the first day I couldn't taste anything. And I'm like,
Really? One day?
seriously?
Yeah.
But the kids
Yeah.
never got it though.
I think my daughter got it. That was what I was going to bring up, was that we were all so out of it that when she started showing symptoms, and my mom was trying to be safe and take care of people and stay distanced, and like it was awkward, I couldn't even really articulate and realize that she was coming down with symptoms because they were very different than mine. Like I had body aches and I had a fever. She had a fever. I didn't even have the wherewithal to measure her temperature. You know what I'm saying? So like it was like day 3 where I was like, oh, you've been showing symptoms for like 2 or 3 days. When did you start feeling this? And when did you start feeling that? And like, because she had a fever. I didn't think she'd been having a low grade fever for a few days, and I can only articulate it based off of her behavior.
Oh, okay.
She was a little whinier, but how could I possibly have known that? Yeah. Anyway, all that to say is that I didn't know, and I didn't have the wherewithal to tell other people that may have been exposed to her when she may have been contagious, because I started showing symptoms on Monday. She was at a party Saturday night.
Oh.
Like there was like exposure possibilities that I couldn't even articulate to people because I was so sick.
Yeah.
And because of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and all that stuff, and when she started showing symptoms, I couldn't get her tested fast enough to make a difference.
Yeah. It didn't matter if she's 4 or 5 days into it.
And we'd been quarantined the whole time she'd been showing symptoms already. Anyway, I just didn't anticipate the difficulty of managing the family's symptoms while I was the sickest by far, and I'm the one that does all of that management.
Right.
Calling the doctors, trying to find like their insurance. It is so hard to get them tested for COVID right now, because unless we do it through the school system, which was closed.
That's one of the most maddening things to me, is that at this point we still can't get tests that are $1 and
Or donated.
on every, I mean, the same thing, but on every corner store. You should walk into AM/PM. There should be a COVID test there.
My mom found 2 at-home tests on Tuesday, because as soon as we got tested Tuesday, And it was pretty obvious that I had it. Like the exposure, the timing, it was like, it would have been weird if I didn't have it. And so she was already seeking out like at-home tests that she could bring home for her and my dad. And I was going to use testing on my kids where it could be like life or death for my parents. Like,
Yeah, you have to ration what you have.
yeah, and I'm glad I did, because then my mom was able to like get her test, and we were just holding our breath waiting for my dad, because if he gets it, I think it would be really bad for him, even though he's vaccinated. But I didn't anticipate the stress load and the inability to problem solve, and like
The brain fog.
and I anticipated the brain fog, but I didn't think how it was going to affect getting everybody else tested and watching them and helping them, and like, because I was so sick for 10 straight days.
Jeez.
It was a long time. Like, I had a fever for 8 of those days.
Wow.
Like, it was long.
The
Skylar's
worst
was way
sickness
shorter.
you've ever had?
The longest, not the worst.
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny, my mom had pneumonia 8 years ago, and it was when we were not living anywhere near each other. She was in Spokane, I was here. My dad was traveling for work, and so she was alone. That was kind of one of the big indicators that we were like, this is not safe for you to be this hermity, this alone, because she almost died from pneumonia.
Really?
Jeez.
Like, because
Scary.
she didn't have the wherewithal to take her butt to the hospital, and my dad was gone.
Yeah.
And she wasn't communicating with me. I thought she just needed to rest because I was so far from her. I had no access to her, and she had no friends. She was new to Spokane. Like, honestly, it's a miracle she survived, because she went through 2 rounds of antibiotics and barely survived. Like, and she was like, I was so sick. So she's gauging all of her symptoms of COVID based off of that.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's sitting up, listening, talking to people. She knitted through the whole thing. And
fine.
she's like, I'm fine. And she had a barking cough, and we were watching her really closely for like oxygen deprivation and stuff. But like,
Well,
I was making meals on day 10 because that was when she was like, and I actually called in the cavalry of some friends, and they brought in some meals, because I was like, I could cook, but I'm not good for anything other than heating things up and throwing it together. Like, I can't think. And so I was really grateful for those people that stepped in, because I was just like, I can't even make, all I could say was, we need gluten-free and nut-free food. Everything else, whatever, it's fine. You know, even if it gives me digestive distress, I don't even care right now. Like, just whatever. And I hadn't really anticipated those kind of, like, if I had really realized that was going to be the stress, I would have stocked our freezers differently.
yeah,
Because we
with
have
things
tons
that
of ingredients. We have a quarter count in our freezer. Like,
Yeah.
I have tons of raw ingredients.
I need to put them together.
I could barely boil water and like macaroni and cheese style. Like, I was so out of it. And anyway, so it's like, if anybody is ever worried about being prepared for COVID, it's like, stock your freezer of already made food, or
yourself-
have a meal train ready to go. Like a
That's
group of
good
friends where you're
advice.
like, if you get it, I'm
Yeah.
bringing you food. Like,
Yeah.
because I could have starved during that time for real. Because like, I couldn't taste, couldn't smell, couldn't think. I was so tired, I could barely function.
Damn.
And like, the roads were all weird and shut down,
Yeah.
and like, other people bringing me food was hard.
Well,
Like,
yeah, because it's
And the holidays too.
Yeah,
like,
and the
that's
holidays.
that's the thing is
I didn't want to disrupt somebody else's holiday.
Yeah.
Like, oh gosh, it was just, the whole thing was just really bad timing. And like, Mike checked in sometimes a couple times a day. Do you need anything? Going to the store? How you feeling?
Superstar Mike.
Superstar Mike. Like, for
what a
real.
guy.
And like, if I could have thought better, I would have articulated food better too. I did fine in the beginning, but as soon as I was just like, I can't function.
You should have just said, buy me 10 days worth of this stuff, just in case.
Just give me 10 Hot Pockets.
But see, I never would have wanted to put you in that kind of financial distress.
It's fine.
And everybody tells me that, and I would do it for someone else, but why do I not allow other people to do that for me?
Let's talk
Oh,
about
that's
that
a whole
topic.
nother podcast.
See what I mean, though? Like,
Yes.
so like this, I've had a lot of time to think as I've come out of the fog. I also got really into Animal Crossing. That was
Oh,
fun.
I'm sorry.
Into
It
what?
was so fun. Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing, the game.
I
on your phone.
needed a chill, zone out game to do
I got
something
into-
to do something with my daughter.
Got into
honestly.
shopping on Goodwill.
Totally different. Completely different.
But I mean, I had a lot of time to like sit and process, and for whatever reason, TikTok put a ton of things in my feed over and over again that gave me a lot of thinking time. So I feel like I'm coming back to podcasting with lots of things to talk about.
Lots of good information. Well, we are blessed that you are back with us and feeling much better and not.
So we know what she's grateful for.
Yeah, exactly. You're
I am
grateful,
grateful
that
to
you're living.
be upright and seeing people.
Exactly.
That's it.
Hey, that's something to be very thankful for.
Oh,
Gary, what about you?
I mean, I'm definitely grateful that Jen's back. It's good to see her and hear
Aw,
her. I mean,
thanks.
Absolutely.
it's just scary. You just never know. And
yeah, it was not fun.
yeah, it's just good
On
to see.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that hopefully the snow's almost gone. I'm not a big fan of that.
Oh, really?
I'm not a fan of the snow.
We had the same reaction. When
Winter
you
is
said that.
just starting.
Yeah.
In my eyes, it's gone. I can't see it. I'm
Wait, you
over
haven't
it.
gone through a winter with your current job yet. This is the first winter.
Not with this current job, but I've driven like through the snow and like other jobs
work
and
and
stuff
stuff,
to
yeah.
like Bend, and it's not fun.
Because if you
No.
weren't driving through snow for work, would you hate it as much?
Definitely still
You
because it's
just
cold.
don't like cold?
Yeah, I just don't like cold. I don't. Yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, and then I don't know. Like it's just good just to be back, and it's sad. I just want to say R.I.P. to Betty White.
I know.
Man.
That's crazy.
I know. It was
She
crazy.
is old.
She went out sticking her middle finger. Everybody going, I'm not hitting 100. Screw you guys.
Right.
I'm not doing this for you.
Yeah.
I'm going out on my terms. 2
Right.
weeks short of it.
Right.
2
right.
weeks? Oh, I didn't know that.
Something
Oh,
like that,
dang.
2 or 3.
January 17th.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Dang.
my son's
Dang.
birthday, so
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
yeah, I couldn't believe that. I thought she was going to live to 200.
Right.
I was sure she'd probably outlive me, but
Right.
she's, you know what? One of her best performances was in that Ryan Reynolds and Sandra
The
Bullock.
proposal.
Yes.
Well, they did so much, like, there was, like, videos out they put out about her, the Sandra Bullock and Ryan.
Yeah.
And, like,
Did you
they-
see the one where they're sitting in the chairs and she thought he
Yes,
was
the
an
director
assistant?
chairs.
Really?
So good.
Yeah. She's like,
And she cries to Sandra Bullock like a lost, like a hurt puppy. Like, so good.
I got to watch those. Did they put them out on
it
their
was on
feed?
TikTok. I
It was
saw
on
it.
TikTok, yeah.
What about you, Mike? What are you thankful for today?
I'm thankful that I can have 2 legs and I can get out and walk. And yesterday we went up to the mountain and we took the boys and they went up and snowboarded. And
Oh, nice.
Michelle and I went and did Mirror Lake, if you know where that's at.
Yeah.
And we snowshoed all there. And
Nice, man.
dude, there's so much snow up there.
Oh, I bet.
Like, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 feet.
Today there's a lot more.
They're supposed to be getting, yeah, that was just fresh stuff.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be getting another 2 to 3 feet today alone.
That's
gal
crazy.
that I know I went to school with lives in Trout Lake, which is
By Mount
east
Adams.
of here. Yeah. And she was saying that she was expecting like 2 feet of snow, maybe
Yeah.
Wow.
maybe more than that just today.
They've already
Good.
closed Highway 14 and 84
Yeah.
headed east.
Well, then I came
Wow.
down
And 84?
Yeah.
Both.
It's nuts.
I didn't know that. Oh, jeez.
Blizzard-like conditions through the gorge.
Wow.
When we came or when we went over to Central Oregon, it was 84 was fine, but there were still a few areas that were slippery. And then when we hit Biggs and went south, then it was just I was doing 40 miles an hour the whole way because it was all snow and stuff. But this, you get a foot of snow in one day. Doesn't matter how prepared you are. That is some legit
De-icer
shit.
is not going to help.
No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And the
That
plows
sucks.
go as fast as they can, but we're lucky to get out of there. I mean, we thought about staying, for a few more days, but anyway,
You'd be stuck.
yeah.
I was supposed to be in Tri-Cities through New Year's.
Oh,
But we
really?
were supposed to come back Sunday.
Ah.
And it's like we would have been out of our quarantine, but I just couldn't feel good about accidentally bringing COVID to somebody just because I wanted to have my holiday.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we didn't go because it's much colder over there and they have really unpredictable snowfall compared to here. And there's a
Wind
chance
and-
we could have gotten stuck too.
Wow.
That
We
would
could have been
really
there for a
bad.
while.
Yeah, that could have been really bad.
Well, I'm thankful that I'm thankful for New Year and all that, but I got to spend some time with small town folk, and I love that. So in Fossil, the little bar there called the Dig Inn, their last night was New Year's Eve.
The dig in, that's
Yes,
fossil.
in Fossil, exactly.
Okay.
They were closing down. They sold to a brewery that will be moving in there. What was fun is that they were having a poker tournament, and I haven't played poker since COVID started, before that. And so I was like, hey, cool, an opportunity. The lady was very overwhelmed. They were doing a buffet, there all kinds of stuff. So I said, hey, I'll help you out. She told me they were expecting 20 to 30 people, but she had a guy, because it was a fundraiser for KFSL, the local radio station, K Fossil. where they play 50s and 40s and 30s old music and an old guy talks. Anyway, so half the prize pool is going to that, but she's talking 20 or 30 people. I walk in to, half an hour. This guy's supposed to show up. He bails. Says, I just don't feel like I can do it tonight. She's like, hey, can you set this up? There's 3 sets of chips, 30 people evidently coming, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is not going to compute here. Long story short, 7 people showed up, but it was 7 of the classic small town people. The guy to my right just wanted cocktails. Just keep him coming. Cool. Love that guy. He's nice. The guy that was to his right, close to 80, had to skip dialysis that day. So he warned us and said, if I start shaking a little bit, it's all right. But if I go down, call the ambulance. I'm like, this is the most fossil thing ever. No joke. And then he ordered a beer.
Sounds like you were playing poker with a bunch of fossils.
Oh, yeah. Then the guy directly in front of me was basically directly from 2005 poker, where he watched a bunch of it on ESPN and he's played some. And so he was basically a World Poker Tour champion, and he told everyone about it.
In his head.
Oh, yes. It was awesome. Then
On his phone.
2 drunk people.
Yeah, even better.
He was, yeah. The 2 people next to him hadn't played poker in 30 years, they said. Husband and wife absolutely destroyed before the poker tournament even started. They're just double-fisted margaritas.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Guys
wow.
looking at me cross-eyed.
Oh, boy.
And then the guy to the left of me was the World Poker Tour champion's son. Super nice guy. But his wife was dogging her mother-in-law, his mom, while she was breastfeeding the baby next to us at the table.
Say what?
Yep.
Oh,
So
She
boy.
brought the baby to the New Year's Eve party where everyone's smashed, and she just whips it out right there at the table,
While trash talking.
trash talking her mother-in-law and her mother-in-law's friends to her husband. I'm like, these are my people. These are my people. Let's. And
So how much did you get away from the table with
I
all of
know
them?
it was a $25 buy-in,
Oh.
and half the money was going to the radio station. So we had a couple of rebuys, $225 total. They gave $100 to the radio station, $125 for the
To
winner
Will.
of the tournament. No. So I said, normally in a situation with 7 people, you'll just pay the winner and that's it. Go on. No. WPT guy says, get me a piece of paper. He starts doing a bunch of calculations. They pay 3 of 7 people. I'm like, it was 60, 30, and 10 or something like that. I'm like, these are my people. They're just so fucking cheap that,
Overcomplicating it.
by a million gazillion miles. But it was awesome. We had dogs. It was 7 degrees outside, freezing our ass off. We're all wearing parkas and stuff because they kept opening the doors. And anyway, long story short,
What a story. It's all about, like, just doing stuff.
Oh yeah,
Get
I
out
don't
there.
give a shit. And so they told me that I'm drinking for free because I helped set up the table. So I'm like,
All right.
I gave the waitress, I'm like, here's $20. I don't have to pay for drinks. So make sure this one never gets empty. Because I'm not driving or anything. I'm like, they know me. They know that we're in town. And if I had to, I could walk home. Anyway, so it was just the experience that I love, getting out with people. And we all have shit going on. As long as the dude didn't die on me because his kidneys failed.
That would
I'm
stress me out the whole time.
He was fine.
He was probably drinking too, right?
Oh, yeah. No, he ordered, as soon as he told us that, he's like, yeah, I'll get a Budweiser. I'm like, yes.
Oh my
Don't ever change Fossil.
See, I'd be
I
so
love 'em.
stressed out the whole time. I'd just be
No,
like,
it's just,
So we're doing a camping trip, but in the summer.
we got down to 2 below. When we
Jeez.
went down to Service Creek, we got up and there's a little pass, and we hit 2 below 2 times while we were there. But
jeez.
yeah, that's the difference even between, like, when we went out for a walk on Wednesday night, it was 12. And even the difference between 12 and like 6 or 7, I mean, it's a stark contrast. But I'm like you, Gary. I don't like cold weather.
Yeah.
But at least that's dry. the snow is dry and it's powdery because it's so cold.
Dry cold's so different.
It is.
So
In fact, we went for a walk yesterday. It's 35, raining sideways, windy.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is far more miserable than
Yeah.
12 or 15 degrees with snow.
That makes sense.
But I'm right there with you. I'm a warm weather guy. I'm
Yeah.
cold habitually, so
Yeah.
I completely feel your pain. And once football's over, I want to go live in Hawaii for a few months because I'm tired of this shit. But anyway, so today we've got a few things we want to talk about, but the main thing that we want to look forward to is 2022 and some of what our goals or things that we want to accomplish is, and do a little bit of an update on how our trek towards better health is going. Not necessarily weight loss, but just overall what we want to improve on, and kind of what our thoughts on how we've been doing since we talked about it about a month ago, and what the next month, 6 months, 1 year look like. With an addition to one topic that we brought up just before hitting record, and so we'll slip that in there at the right time. But I know, I don't know if you guys have, I said specifically before we started recording that there's two things, but it doesn't necessarily have to be two things that you have. If it's one big thing or 10 little things, it doesn't matter. It's not any of our jobs to gatekeep what we all want to improve on. But if there's one thing that you could put your finger on right now that you have each identified, what is that one thing for you? I'm going to start with you, Gary.
So again, for me, it's just being more intentional with things, because there's things that I want to do and there's goals and stuff that I've made before, but I never really thought about laying the groundwork of what it's going to take to get to that point, and I had a conversation last night, and I was just talking about, one of the biggest problems, with losing 200 pounds or, getting more incomes and stuff like that is you're thinking about the end goal. So you're not thinking about losing a pound or losing 2 pounds or getting an additional income. You're thinking about the end. So I just think, there's sayings like, buy the yard is hard, or, just little things like that. And I just think that, one of the things that I definitely want to do is just be, more intentional, just about not backtracking, whether it's mentally, physically, or, emotionally and stuff like that. And I just think that, there's people around me that, try to just push my buttons or just try to make me angry, but luckily, I'm in a different space now, and my mental fortitude, my
we call that mental kung fu in my house.
Yeah is just different. So I mean, now
stronger kung fu.
Yeah, exactly. And now people will just try to say things just to get under my skin or make me mad or whatever else, but now I'm seeing it as it's not even about that issue at hand. It's about previous things or things, that are going on with them. And, once I see that now, it's just interesting. And just for me, I'm trying to be in a better place. I don't want to backtrack. I want to be better, physically, emotionally, and mentally and stuff like that. And, it's basically my goal for 2022, because I think that by doing that, it's going to, kind of trickle down into other things.
Have you looked into Atomic Habits yet? That book?
I listened to,
Did you get through it?
No, I'm halfway through.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. I listened to probably 15 to 20 minutes of it, but then I started listening to Will Smith's book, and then I started listening to a book by Dr. Rita Walker, and I'm gonna have to pick that up later.
Yeah, you're literally describing the how of what you're trying to accomplish in Atomic Habits. It talks about the how behind it.
Yeah.
It's kind of cathartic when you're in that place where you're at right now, where you're like, okay, I don't want to go backwards because I see it now, and I can't unsee it. Yeah. And then it starts turning into, well, now what?
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny because it's now, I feel like it's one of those things, when for me, for instance, when I first got into college basketball, the game just seemed so fast and it seemed like everybody else was so much better. But the more you practice, the more time you put into it, things just start to slow down. Yep. The game is slowing down. People aren't as good and strong and, is whatever as you thought they were. And I feel mentally now, that's where I am, with certain people. They're trying to speed me up. They're trying to make me mad. But, I'm just still going slow and taking it easy and not reacting. I typically would. And that's, where I want to keep going, is just keep, working on myself and keep helping people around me, and I just think that's my goal, honestly.
And when you look at that, speaking more towards the going back, because having been down a weight loss journey, there are hiccups, there are stumbles, there are times where you will gain a pound or something like that. But those are tangible things that you can see on a screen, because of the scale, that type of thing. What you're talking about is there's something that may occur, but you can't guess that it's going to happen, which is somebody trying to set you off. You may get to a point where, okay, you know that person, and you know that the opportunity for them to troll you could present itself. But by being mindful of that, you won't even have the opportunity to get set back, because you've already set yourself up for success. Where I know that for me, when I dealt with the weight, I mean, I yo-yoed for many years before that, and I was always the one that was the one to blame for that, because I didn't do what was necessary. You've already done the work. You can completely block that person out. You can say, I wish you the best, man. And if it's even your mother or your father or somebody close, I wish you the best, but you're not going to get me to your level where you want me. You're going to play on my level. And I think that's a big part of, I know it has been for me dealing with those types of things, that provided me a successful avenue to set up that boundary. And that's really what it's about for you, is that those healthy boundaries, to not let them get over on you.
Definitely. Definitely. I think before, like, I think, when somebody made me angry, my mentality was more like, fuck you. But like now, it's more of like peace and blessings, like I wish you the best.
God bless you.
Yeah, exactly. Just like in the South, God bless you.
And that drives them crazy, which is your way of trolling them back.
Yeah.
So it gets that petty thing kind of fulfilled for you too.
But on the flip side of that too, like it's going to be really fun. This journey is going to be fun to watch on this side of it, because that whole phrase of high vibe, low vibe is what you're describing. And you're going to be on such a vibe level that they're naturally going to be like, and people with low vibe, bad energy, people that want to project their shit onto you, you're gonna naturally repel them, because they're gonna not understand your level of kung fu, your level of mental kung fu. They're gonna be like, okay, and then you're just gonna naturally start to make this huge gap, and that whole thing of the top 5 people you hang out with is like the vibe you attract. It's like that'll naturally start to change, and you will start attracting people that are on your vibe level. And it's like, so as you go through this next year, allow that to happen. The hardest part is letting it happen, because big things are happening. You might need to move, you might need to get a different job, because you're like, I feel this vibe shift and this this attraction magnetic change shift going elsewhere. And the trick is acknowledging it and recognize it and letting it happen, because we as humans resist change so much. We don't even know we're doing it. It's like, it's gonna be really fun to watch you go through that journey, because it's really, it feels good.
And like so far, like it feels great. And like I definitely think just being around like better people and different people and stuff like that has definitely helped, because me seeing you guys and being around you guys makes me want to be better. Like it makes me want to like assist people more and give back and just be better, like all around. And I just think, like yesterday, like I was having a conversation with my roommate, and like we were just sitting in downtown Portland, like having ramen, and she was like, where are you at right now? And I was like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? And she just like totally fucking like called me out. And it was so weird, because she could tell that I like wasn't mentally there. Like I was physically there, but like mentally, like I was just like,
there's some people you can't hide from, man.
It was, dude,
I'm one of those people.
It was.
People are like, how did you know I'm having an off day?
Dude, it was it was so funny. And like she just like called me out, and like we just started like talking about some things, and then this like unhoused person like came up and started just staring at us like through the window, and like I was just sitting there, just trying to like ignore them. And then the person got closer to the window, and they started like doing symbols and stuff, and I was still ignoring them. And then they started banging on the window and stuff like that.
Really? Wow.
And I'm just like, this is really happening right now. Like it was just so weird. And then, you know, finally like a waiter came over and like told him to get away and stuff like that. But it was just weird just how, you know, before, you know, if somebody would have did that, like I probably would have reacted differently.
Really?
And I probably wouldn't have called him an unhoused person.
Right.
But I'm a God-fearing man now.
Well, and it's not that it's you've changed completely as a person. You're still Gary.
Yeah.
It's just that you're controlling that, and you're
Yeah.
making more deliberate, intentional decisions
Yeah.
rather than reacting to the situation.
Yeah.
Which never feels good. Having a reactive nature feels
No.
so unstable.
No.
And then you have those moments of regret. I hate regretting things that I've done
Yeah.
and said.
Yeah.
It's like haunts me forever.
Yeah.
In fact, in my feverish state, I thought about things I haven't thought about in 15 years. I'm like, why brain?
Yeah.
Why? Like, I
gotta
did not
bring up old
appreciate
shit.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like, so being reactive is
Yeah.
just no fun.
Yeah.
Some
yeah,
people like it, though.
Yeah.
That's called trauma.
But yeah, for me, like I'm really embracing the change and the growth and stuff like that. And it's interesting just, you know, learning new things and reading different books. Like for me still, the book Unlearn by Humble the Poet is one of the greatest books I've ever read in my life.
Unlearned?
Yeah. And
Tell us about it. I'm curious.
Yeah, basically
Title's got
like,
me there. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
right. So basically like the guy, like he was a teacher, like a grade school teacher before, and then he became a spoken word author or a spoken word poet. And then after that, like he was a rapper and stuff like that. So
I know who this guy is.
Yeah.
Is there a documentary on him or something?
maybe like he's like Sikh or something like that. So he's got like a Eastern philosophy.
Okay.
And like it's just interesting just how he like kind of combines all these different like past lives, you know, for him all like into one book. So the chapters, you know, are like a page and a half or a page long.
Really?
And then at the end of each chapter, you know, like there's like a quote, and basically like it just talks about like looking yourself in the mirror and like being okay with like knowing that you're not okay and like, you know, like learning and, you know, just being there for yourself, but also like being okay like as a grown up and just saying, damn, like I have to unlearn different things, or I have to be better about X, Y, and Z. And just to read that, and for him just to put out this book, you know, like in the TikTok era where like everything has to be 30 seconds or less, was just amazing. Like I love it. I've told like a few people about it, and the only person that like didn't like it was my son, but he hates reading anyways, so there's that.
That's an issue with the youth of today.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think I know who he is, because I believe it was in the history of rap
Yeah.
that he was featured in that. That's
Maybe.
why I think that's ringing a bell, but I could be
Yeah.
completely wrong. But I think I'm pretty familiar with it.
It's
That-
so good though.
And that's, you know, it's something all of us can be more deliberate with.
Yeah.
Mike, you're sitting here quietly, and we talked a little bit before we started recording that, you know, we all want to bring the positive vibes to this, and sometimes we're not feeling as positive as we are in others. You have a look that actually, you know, it's a smile, but I can tell, like Jen, that it's not the normal Mike smile. And you look tired, is how I would best describe it. Are you tired?
I would guess I would say I'm more stressed. Like, I don't know, I kind of mentioned it. Like, I just closed my last deal, so now I'm kind of stressed out about where's my next one going to come from, and you know, and am I really satisfied in staying in real estate, or do I want to do something different? I really like doing this, but you know, is this going to pay the bills, or you know, I don't know. There's just a lot going on. Plus, with I don't know, just everything seems so chaotic and up in the air right now. But I'm just trying to remain calm and trying to keep my expectations low. But I don't know, I think I just need to like remove expectations in a lot of ways.
How does that parlay into your goals for 2022?
Well, and that's another thing that's kind of been stressing me out, because like, you know, we talked about the whole weight loss journey and stuff about a month ago, and I'm like, well, I haven't even really started yet. So I mean, I have.
It wasn't
like,
the best time to start a weight loss
right,
challenge.
right
I mean,
during
going right
Christmas.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with like taking time to figure out how you want to approach it. Give yourself maybe like a generous due date to be like, okay, I'm going to start whatever I decide on this day and be realistic about that, but no shame in taking time.
Well, I did re-sign up at the gym, so I'm at All Pride. We're going to go after this afternoon. We're going to go down to Champ Camp where Jess is, and then probably sign up for a family thing there. And so I'm going to get back into exercising more. That's kind of one of my goals, is to basically just be more active in whether it's snowshoeing or snowboarding or learning how to ski or, just getting out and doing things, or even just going walking in the rain or cold, freezing, pissing sideways snow.
Right.
But definitely it's for me, I don't know, I'm kind of like that person, like when they have their food on their plate, they eat one thing at a time.
Oh, okay.
And your food doesn't touch?
No, it can touch, but I like, I'll eat one thing at a time and I save the best for last. So when I'm trying to do a lot of different things at once with starting gym, doing like food things, like it just seems like a lot and it's overwhelming.
You're also podcasting, you're
right.
in a relationship, there's like way more than just like the task stuff that's like on your plate, so to speak.
It's a lot.
It's
and
a
then
lot,
trying to keep the kids happy and
navigating divorce, like there's just, that's a lot, like my gosh.
And I'm so much for everybody else that I really don't take the time for myself to like.
You hit the nail on the head.
Like,
and
it's also why you're hitting the wall over and over and over and over and over again.
I feel like I'm ramming my head in the wall. I'm just tired.
Tired of doing it. Man, been there.
Oh, we've all been there, and recognizing. I think that one thing that the four of us recognize now is that we didn't recognize it at one point, and for some of us, me, it was months ago. Jen was probably years ago, but Gary and Mike, I think that you guys are fairly recently where you actually acknowledge the fact that there's a wall that you've been beating your head against.
That did we talk about this? The point of disgust.
I don't think so.
No,
maybe
there is an actual point of disgust where somebody has like, I've had it. I'm done with this behavior. I'm done with the way I'm feeling. I'm done with the circumstances. I'm just done in whatever area in your life. But when you hit that point of disgust with yourself, where you're like, why? Why do I do this to myself
it's
over
almost
and over
like
again?
You have to grieve it in a lot of ways.
Yes, and you have to be move past the shame and the guilt to do anything about it. And if you never acknowledge that you feel guilty or shame-filled about your behavior, it's really difficult to even see past that. Because if you shove that way back there, because, I mean, even in some of the language that I hear you say, you feel shame over not moving your body more. There's no shame in that. Even taking 3 months, waiting until spring to implement a plan. No shame in that, because you are doing a lot now.
But I want it like now.
I know, right? I know. You want the change now.
Right.
I think that's been kind of the key for me over the last year and a half or so is being okay. Like you were saying, Gary, about being okay with not being okay. That was the first step, is recognizing I'm not okay and being okay with that. But then allowing myself to just sit in it. It's kind of like going through like ice baths and cold therapy, cryotherapy and things like that. It's like building up endurance to be able to handle those things allows you to feel less shame and less guilt. Like allowing yourself to be in the waiting place is the hardest thing as a human, because we want to fix it, especially in this like quick fix game. Everything is so fast and we expect to change something because you know better. That's not how humans work. Just because you know better doesn't mean you're going to do anything about it. It's like because our emotions need to be processed before our physical body can see any change. Yeah. It's amazing how much our physical bodies host that.
The funny thing is too, is like I see the stress that's like building up, and what do I want to do? I want to run and go get ice cream or cereal with water. Or
no
good choice. No. Yes go.
You know
Mike.
what I mean? But like resisting that, I don't know what to do with those, because I'm not using outlets that I've used in the past.
Yeah, so now what?
So now I'm like, what do I do? Because it's so against my old nature to run and go do those things. But now I'm like, no, that leads me to where I was.
Because you've reached that point of disgust where you're like, you put this gate down. Nobody talks about the past that point very often, at least not in our generation. It's like we're just starting to have this open conversation around, okay, I've had enough. And it's like, because a lot of times what it looks like when somebody's had enough is they work out more, they eat cleaner, they move their bodies more in whatever way feels good to them. It's like the task oriented stuff is, wow, you can tell someone has hit that point of disgust. But how many people do you know that are obsessed with CrossFit are still fucked up?
Oh,
Yeah.
CrossFit is a whole
100%.
world of
See what I
fucked up
mean?
people.
If
But
there's any
you can
CrossFit
achieve
listeners,
CrossFit.
If there's any CrossFit listeners, Jen's sorry for what she's saying about
Me
you.
too.
No, but
you need to call
think
into
about
us.
it. Think about it. Anybody, even in the gym, somebody who is heavy into weightlifting, somebody who's a marathon runner, somebody who's really into the medals that they achieve. Many, many, many of those people are still fully admit that they have got shit that they have not worked out yet. And the
'Cause they're
gym
running
makes
from
them
it.
sane. This makes them sane. There's nothing wrong with that. But we don't talk about what's beyond that. What have you been doing at 10 years? And you're tired. And you've hit another point of disgust, even though you're dealing with it task-oriented wise, like you're dealing with the physicality part of dealing with emotions, but you're tired, or you get old and you get injured, or there's this whole world past those tasks that you want to check off, because that's the only thing we know to do to deal with our emotions and our physical body is to do something with our physical body. But there's this whole world past that is so hard because it's untangible.
Yeah.
There's no tasks. There's nothing to be done. I saw this TikTok video that I thought about it for days, and it was a therapist breaking down a stitching to a video. So like this girl popped up and was like, I've read all the books. I understand my attachment style. I've been to therapy for 3-4 years. I've done everything that I know to do. And then you could tell there was more to say. And then the stitch popped in. The therapist popped in. She goes, this is the problem I see in my office over and over and over again, is people are hitting these walls of, I've done everything. I know everything. I'm well educated. I can see my bullshit now. And I'm tired. And she's like, that's when I step in. She goes, that's what happens is people come into my office and I help them sit in the sick and the gross and the yuck and the feelings, because our physical bodies just take on all of that, even when we're coping with it through movement. And it's like, so there's absolutely no shame in being like, I can see that I've got bullshit that I'm working on. I know that there's things that I can do, the physical tasks, like the how. I know there's things that I can do and still look at that and go, but I'm tired. Like, and I know that I can execute.
How do you get past that? That's
how
my
do you
question.
get past that? And guys, that's where I've been living for the last 3 years. Because when I tell you, I tasked all the things for 8, almost 10 years. Let me tell you, I tasked all the things. Like, got into meditation, got into journaling, got into my spirituality deep, which I'm so grateful I went through that, because that actually is a huge part of my pillars of who I am. I got into nutrition. I got into supplementation. I got into Wim Hof. I got into cold therapy. I got into
Wim Hof. I
yeah,
thought you
Wim
said
Hof.
Wimp Off. I'm like,
You're, what?
Wait a minute, what the hell?
She said the Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
It's like you get into all the things, the biohacking, all the stuff. I got really into that, and I still was tired of my bullshit. And so in the last 3 years, I've been doing the work where I'm like, ugh, this is gross. It's acknowledging what you're feeling. It's allowing yourself to feel the feels. I can't even tell you how many times I cried over this vacation because I was grieving the loss of Christmas, my favorite holiday season.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Like I've already said, as soon as my taste and my smell comes back, we're doing a week of Christmas cookies. I don't care if it's March. I don't care if it's April, which I hope my taste buds come back before then. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. It's like, if you don't allow yourself to acknowledge, like, it was a huge step for you to like even tell us, like, I'm feeling off today.
Yep.
Yeah, that was big, man.
Yeah,
That's
because
like
I was
that-
just like hiding behind my smile, and I'm like,
I know, and you were smiling because
I
you don't
can
know what
just-
else to do.
No,
Because it's
it was
like,
uncomfortable.
it is uncomfortable,
It
and it's
sucks.
so gross to be like, I feel off today. I don't really know why. And then it turns into, so the first thing that I can suggest that has made the hugest difference for me in being able to move through those kind of feelings, because you're going to go through it even when you figured your bullshit out, it's still going to happen. Where you're like, why am I jealous at that? Why am I annoyed at that? I shouldn't be annoyed at that. And then you start having these feelings even after you've acknowledged them and you notice what's happening. It's like the best thing I can say is start simple with naming your feelings, because it's just like, then you've got a target, then you can see it for what it is exactly. Like as soon as I started acknowledging, I would not acknowledge being angry for my whole life.
There was one this morning. I had to unfollow somebody on social media, and it wasn't anything they did. It was just how I reacted
How it made
to
you feel.
like their success, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh, really?
Yes.
I was jealous. I'm like, she is killing it in our industry, and she has kids. She coaches sports, and
She's achieving all the
she
things.
still closed 81 properties.
And
Really?
see, what I gotta
And
say about people
crazy.
that do stuff like that is they've either done it, they've done the work, and they've moved past that bullshit. And you will get to the point where you're like, I'm fucking winning in life, man. I'm killing it. And you'll get to that point, but you have to allow yourself to sit in that time. And they've either done that, where they've done that work, and now they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Or they've never dealt with it, and they will burn out.
Yep.
And there will be a point in their life where they're like, and then they will hit another point of disgust. So, but you're witnessing the highlight reel. And I think that's why a lot of people say, if you don't like someone's highlight reel, then don't look at it. It's okay. You don't have to look at it because you're in a different journey.
Yeah,
You're in a
that's why I
different
unfollowed
place.
it, because I mean, it's just not healthy for me to
Good for you.
see that. So I'm
That's
like,
fantastic.
and I respect the person. I think they're awesome. I'm just like, I can't handle it.
Do you know how many people did that to me over the last 5 years? People that I thought I would never lose friendships or connection with have disappeared off the face of the planet.
They're jealous that
Disappeared.
you have
And
been
they will
doing
come
the work.
in and then they will pop back out again. And they'll be like, gosh, I would love to hang and see you. And when it comes down to trying to make that happen, or I'll see them once and then I won't see them for months or hear from them for months. Like it's amazing being on the flip side of that now. Cause I had to do the same thing. It was like go through and like only follow certain people that make me feel growth and not regression. Cause I had to sit in that yucky place of being like, why does that make me jealous? Why can't I be happy for other people? Like, and I can tell you, you can move past it by looking deeper at yourself and examining of just the feelings and the yucky stuff, the stuff where you're like, I'm not, but you're allowed to, acknowledging that you're allowed to have all those feelings of anger, annoyance, frustration, jealousy, envy, hate. That's a hard one to admit for me too. Anger and hate are really hard for me to admit. And I don't find that I'm acknowledged. I don't see it. I don't really hate as often as I feel like I used to. And maybe that's part of my kung fu. I don't know, but it's like,
Are you saying you would hate like people, or just hate how you feel about certain
I would hate
things?
people.
Really? What
And
do you
it's
think
and it's hard to
caused
admit
that?
out loud.
Jealousy,
All these
envy?
jealousy, anger, the way they treated me. It's been a long time since I've hated someone, but I feel like hate and anger are kind of secondary emotions a lot of times when you're not willing to admit those feelings of jealousy or sadness or fear. Like a lot of times fear is the root of a lot of these really big emotions that are socially unacceptable.
Huge.
I think
Right?
fear is the biggest
Yes.
that
By-
controls everybody.
And
To some
honestly,
extent.
when I wore the heart monitor last April was the first time that I allowed myself, because I was just so angry. I was so angry at everything because it was like
You and
early
me both,
2021.
sister.
Yeah, it was early 2021, and everybody was confused. Nobody could tell what was up and down, and like everything was hard. And here I'm having physical health problems that I can't control, and I'm not getting any help on. All the doctors are like, "You're fine," and I'm like, "I am not fine." Like it felt like I was being gaslit by the medical community. Like I was just angry. And I had to let myself be angry for like 6 hours. I'm talking like, please don't come in here. I'm listening to Slipknot and Metallica and like Rage Against the Machine. I have to process these things without even worrying about other people's emotions, because I do that, and you probably do that too, Will. Like I don't let myself feel things because I don't make other people uncomfortable. That's my
I just
issue.
lock my emotions down.
Yeah,
I don't have them.
yeah, exactly. But you do, and then your physical body feels it. But I had to let myself be angry for a whole day, like a long time, before I could be like, I'm angry because I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared at all these things that are completely out of my control. And
Which is a control issue.
Right.
At the very bottom of it, right?
And then once I acknowledged my emotions and I let myself crying is so good for your hormones. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. It's so good for your hormones. Because hormones can kind of get in the way of allowing you to feel the feels. Because if you're like jacked up cortisol, you're going to be just bouncing off the walls with all that. You won't take a second to like, and so that's where the physical body comes in. It's like, I pulled down that punching bag and I boxed for an hour because I was just like, okay, I acknowledge what my feelings are, and I need to get out of that feelings tunnel, that loop. And a lot of the best ways to get out of that tunnel is moving your body. So your instincts are spot on. Like moving your body, getting out there, doing stuff is going to like propel you to a place where it allows you to sit in the gross emotionally, you know? And it's like acknowledging that you need the physicality, which is why CrossFit feels good for a lot of people. So people that are listening that do CrossFit, I respect you. You've done things that make you feel good. Good for you. But there's more. Just go past that a little bit. Anyway, but as far as your goals go, don't feel shame. Like that's like the last thing I want from you as a friend is to feel shame or guilt over the slow start, because you got a lot of emotions going on right now. Real estate's emotional. I don't care who you are.
Highly emotional.
Highly emotional. That alone, let alone what you're dealing with in your personal life and what you're trying to accomplish in your mental health. And like, damn, dude.
It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, damn, dude. Let yourself be annoyed and be like, man, I'm annoyed that I haven't moved my body. It's fine. I'm angry that I haven't started. That's where I'm at.
We were snowshoeing yesterday, and
you've actually done a lot of physical stuff. You haven't worked out, quote unquote.
Like
But
not
you're pretty active.
not consistent.
Yeah.
And so like I get mad at myself that so Michelle can trailblaze those, no problem. Like I'm the one that slows her down.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I gotta stop.
She might
My heart
need
rate's
that.
at like 175 right now.
She might
you know?
need that though.
And
You're gonna blow up.
but
Yeah.
you know, with her in front of me going, it's like it keeps me going because I'm like I can't let her get further and further
I bet
away.
you guys are really good for each other.
So
You're just looking at her butt.
I, you know,
He's like, maybe.
ski pants doesn't accentuate very well, but
Pretending it's Will, right?
yeah.
Whoa, hey-oh.
No.
There's also something that some very successful people have talked about, which is they cut down on the number of decisions that they need to make each day because they realize that we only have the bandwidth to actually think about and make a certain amount of solid decisions. Like Steve Jobs wore that outfit because that was one less decision he had to make each day.
That's the point of a capsule wardrobe. Literally the point
Yeah.
is to bring all the decisions down to minimum.
Absolutely. And the other thing is with the working out and the eating and stuff, one thing that I did was, and I'm sure I've talked about it, is I created rules that I had to live by so that I didn't have to think about whether I could eat something. And there was only 3 of them. So one more than I have fingers on my left hand.
It was a beautiful chicken, by the way,
You like that?
beautiful.
on TikTok.
I was a
Like-
little confused at first because it was sideways. Couldn't see it, and as soon as you do the legs, I was like, oh, okay.
That's my chicken. I discovered that on accident. Anyway, but so I said, I can't eat wheat, I can't eat anything with added sugar, and I can't eat anything fried. And that solved my dietary issue that I'm allergic to wheat and the need to cut sugar, and fried stuff is just not good for you. But I recognized that I had to do that in order for myself to succeed on that path.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you're saying with the instant gratification. Gary's said the exact same thing when we've talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get on that scale after we went on a hike or whatever, and we want to see 3 pounds gone.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm almost a bigger fan of throwing a scale out and going to measurements.
Yeah.
Or going to your jeans. Get
Which
a
is
pair
what
of-
which is what we're doing today is we're doing measurements.
Yeah.
Because even Michelle, we talked about it this morning because I'm like, nope, I'm getting on keto. I don't care how much it's going to be restrictive, but I know that I can stick to it. And if I have the temptations gone, now that the holidays and all the cookies and all that shit's all gone, now I can stick to this. And so
So
I
you
have
already
my
intuitively
app.
feel that you want to make less decision because you know you know keto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to make it healthier, not like the bacon and all the
Yeah,
fats.
I'm not a fan
and,
of
Hey,
that
I
at
got like 2 or 3 cookbooks for you if you're interested. Then
Sure.
some
Absolutely.
they're good, some yummy recipes in there.
But
And
we
since
were-
I can't taste, you can taste them.
we were talking about that this morning, and I'm like, she goes, I would only weigh yourself once a week,
Maybe
once a week.
Maybe.
and she goes, but we're gonna do
Monthly, maybe?
measurements and I think somebody else I was talking to it about it with somebody, maybe we were talking or overheard somebody, but when you're losing, you might not see the pounds drop off, but you'll see the inches change.
Oh, huge. And you'll see because when you're replacing fat with muscle, that's why I don't like the scale either. Because you could gain 2 pounds of muscle and lose 3 pounds of fat, and you go, oh, I lost a pound this month, and I've been working so hard, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, but you've lost 18 total inches.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 9 or whatever.
Or your clothes fit differently because your shoulders have gotten bigger.
And now you're in, now I can go on those things. Now I'm staying ahead of her, and she has to catch up to me. I have a long way to go.
Yeah, different gauges. There's a lot of, in the anti-diet culture conversation, there's a lot of conversation of what are the other gauges for health. It doesn't have to be a scale because a scale is wildly inaccurate. It's more about how's your sleep, what's your pant size, what's your neck size. Necks can change a decent amount.
Well, neck really affects your sleeping.
Neck affects your sleeping. Exactly. Your shoulders, like you guys were saying, it's like they're the measurements. There's the mental health. There are so many gauges to health. It's like, how's my digestion? How's like, you know what I mean? There's like, did I get rid of like acid reflux that I wanted to get rid of? Because that tells me that I'm probably going to be losing weight if I'm doing that. Like, there's just, every single person has different gauges like that. And it's like, I went through a weight loss system when I was in between my 2 kids, mostly out of curiosity, mostly out of like, I didn't understand my body then because everything had changed. And I knew I needed to lose weight because I gained a lot of weight with my first pregnancy, and I just didn't know what to do, and so I went through a system, and part of the system was basically like lower carb, not completely low carb. It was more like high protein, high fat, often eating. And I basically like ate the same thing every day. I ate every few hours. Like, I had this regimented, less decisions, like you were saying, and I measured. We didn't do any weigh-ins. It was all measuring. And I wouldn't go back to this system. It was too restrictive for me now. But I lost 3.5 inches off of each thigh in 3 weeks.
Holy shit.
Like, the girl that was measuring me had done it she'd done it so many times. And she measured me. She goes, that can't be right. She's like, I cannot be right. She measured me again. And I was like, I mean, my pants fit very differently now. Like, but I weighed more because I was gaining weight.
Yeah. And with protein, like, and you're gaining muscle,
but
if it's good,
3.5 inch, that's a lot off of each thigh in 3 weeks. Like, I couldn't freaking believe I was fitting in pants I hadn't fit into in like 5 years. Like, I was just like, but it was like back to like the size that I felt good when I was doing competitive cheer. And it was like, but I was also moving my body like that and fueling it better than I was when I was competitive cheerleading. And so it's like, it was really eye-opening to me to be like, whoa, I know my thighs felt smaller, but damn, 3.5 inches. And that's kind of been my gauge ever since. I own a scale because my mom had one when we moved in together. And I don't want to tell her to get rid of it because it's hers. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a scale in the house.
I just bought one.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Measurements were really interesting to watch change too. Like my neck size, I changed like 1.5 inches on my neck. Like, I mean, the weirdest things that I never thought were like a good gauge of health for me were actually really helpful, because now, like, when my neck changes size, it has more to do with inflammation in my body than weight.
Really?
Yeah, like when I'm inflamed, my neck is bigger.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
I never would have known that.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like I was super inflamed through 2020. Because
and a lot of it's all the food we eat.
Oh,
I was massively stressed, and I wasn't moving my body. I lost everything I loved and cared about in my schedule. I was like, and I just felt 2020 sucked for that reason.
Was that when your podcast ended?
It was the beginning of deciding it needed to end. It ended in 2021, early 2021. But it was, I knew it was the year I got depressed. It was the year I gained a ton of inflammatory weight that as soon as I started smoking weed, that's a whole other episode, my light switch, my cortisol light switch turned off.
So maybe that's what I need to do, is what you're saying?
But mine was inflammation, and I had been doing all the things. I mean, when I say I was doing all the things, I mean I was doing all the things that I knew that were healthy for me, that normally would work for me, but there was something wrong in my hormones and the way I was, I wasn't getting restful sleep, and I had to do a lot of learning to see that and understand what to do with it. But it was like, when you look at weight loss, it's like, for me, and I dropped 20 pounds, like it just fell off of me. Yeah, like, and I didn't change any of my eating habits. Neither, and I guess I added Zumba back in once a week, but what is once a week gonna do?
Once a week Zumba is not gonna.
No, and it was more for my mental health.
Yeah.
And so I was on this journey for the last year that was purely about, I know the weight will drop if I'm happy. What makes me happy? And for me, it was getting my system to turn off at night and allowing myself to explore with weed for the first time in my entire life for medicinal purposes for myself. Man, there was a lot of culture to undo there for my brain. Allowing myself to move my body only in what made me feel good when the workout was done. Because I like hard work. I like feeling exhausted and being like, I did the dang thing. But
that's how while I'm doing exercise, like we did Waimea Canyon in Hawaii, and if anybody is listening has done that, it is fucking torture. Cause it is.
Yeah, it is.
And it's.
Yeah.
Have you been it? Have you done it?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
It's straight down, straight up, straight down, straight up,
And
straight
you're like,
down.
why?
And you're like, this isn't who thinks
does
this is fun.
But some people that lights them up. And see, that's what makes us all interesting as humans.
And
is,
see, and
like,
that lights
discovering.
Michelle up. But when I was
Yes.
doing it, I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna fucking die.
Yes, exactly. And see, like, I love dancing. My husband's like, shoot me in the head. Absolutely not. Like, he would probably maybe do it, but not for fun.
No, and afterwards I was like, God, I'm so glad I did that. I hated it the entire time.
But see, that's the feeling you got to chase is what do you enjoy when you're done?
Yeah.
Because that,
Because then you're like, I accomplished it.
Yeah, you guys heard of 75 Hard?
Mm-mm.
Really? Really? Oh, okay. I'm excited to introduce this to you guys. Okay, so 75 Hard is another, like, people that don't like diet culture are like, 75 Hard is bad. It's bad for you. It's basically you weigh yourself every day. You read a book, like a chapter a day, and you move your body for 45 minutes every day.
Oh.
And you drink a certain amount of water, kind of your weight.
Like a gallon or something.
Which I think is stupid, but that's a whole nother story. And so there's these pillars that you work from. You get to decide what workout you're doing. You get to decide what book you're reading, that sort of a thing. But it's like, and it's called 75 Hard. You do it for 75 days, and you have to check in with yourself every day. You have to take a picture and weigh yourself every single day, and you
I
cannot
think I just
miss.
saw that on TikTok actually.
Yeah, you cannot miss anything. Some people are discovering what I think 75 Hard is great for is discovering where your limits are. And as humans, the only way we can understand what works for us and what doesn't is really kind of just trying it.
Yeah, try.
And there are people that use 75 Hard in a bad way, in a way of shaming and guilting themselves into achievement. That's where it's like, maybe that's not for you. What 75 Hard is great for is self-exploration, digging deep, deciding how far you can take things. Can I be consistent with those things that are kind of hard to be consistent in? Can I find a book to read that, because like, what if you get through, because people will get through 75 there, or maybe they'll get through like day 40 and they'll mess up and you start over.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. You forget to take a picture, you get sick, you start over. You break your leg and can't move, you start over. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It could be you just forgot, because some people get stuck in a holiday rhythm or a like schedule rhythm
Or
of
vacation
something, or like a wedding, and they forget to do their 75 Hard. You start over, and the accomplishment is doing the 75 Hard and doing it. And where the psychology gets stuck is when it's not the journey for you. Like 75 Hard would not be the journey for me. I know my limits. I've done hard shit. I know what works for me and what doesn't now. But maybe that's not your journey. Maybe this 75 Hard is where you need to start, something like that, where it's really restrictive, where you're just seeing what happens, but then coming at it from a place of exploration, not restriction. Not, I'm going to do this, I'm going to accomplish this, and I'm going to do this, and it's going to be so hard, and I'm going to be so awesome because I did a really hard thing. That doesn't teach us anything.
And then on day 5, and you give up, and you're like, fuck.
I'm an idiot. And then you start self-sabotaging yourself all the way through 75 Hard. So that's why it's like the way you approach things is really what you're going to take away. It's like approaching something like 75 Hard with a place of curiosity and exploration, and being like, because maybe you decide your 45 minutes of movement, because the other thing is once you decide what it is, that is your 75 Hard, you do not deviate. And so you only get to deviate when you start over again. So let's say you decide, I'm going to run every day. And on day 40, you are like, my body hates me. That's fine. You start over. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want to achieve, and so they will give themselves a knee injury before they start over on their 75 hard. That's where it's like, no, okay, that's not good for your physical health. It's not good for your mental health. It's not,
Well, it's defeating the purpose.
it completely, yeah. But the way people with trauma history around eating, moving their body, allowing themselves to feel their feelings and choosing not to, and just they go into something like 75 hard. It's like masking. They're like masking over and skipping over what it's for. What it's meant to be is self-exploration, move your body, try new things, and put yourself in an optimized position where you can understand the journey you're on. So like being dehydrated, you can't think when you're dehydrated. So that's why that's part of 75 hard. Growing and learning new things mentally, that's why you read a book. Moving your body lets you process your feelings. The only thing I think 75 hard is missing, well, and then you journal. I think journaling is part of 75 hard, and that's actually part of the mental health journey behind it. So I think there's a lot of really great things that can be in restrictive situations if you're coming at it from a place of self-love, self-care, curiosity, and gentleness
and understanding
grace.
What your overall goal is to set yourself up for success,
long-term success.
When I would do the yo-yo thing, it was about 6 months from now, not 6 years, not 10, 15. It was, okay, I got to get to this number and then everything's solved. Well, bullshit. That's not how it is. And we each have individual body types, body sizes that respond to things differently. Gary, the way he works out and weight hangs on him is different than me and is different than you and obviously different than Jen. But we each have to understand that this is a lifetime thing. And all of us have said that we have a goal that we would like to achieve, but it's more of, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to achieve this. And
I'm going to do it in a way that's healthy.
It's a process. Just like making ice is a process. You have to get cold. That means that the water has to be shocked so that it can come together. I want to ask you, Gary, because Mike and I have different, and I'm not because Jen isn't important to the conversation, but as males, it's a different animal weight
It
loss.
is, yeah.
And you have said that you're in that like 20-pound range maybe. Because, I mean, honest to goodness, if I look at you, I wouldn't say Gary's a fat ass.
I know, I wouldn't either.
say
Yeah.
Go to the gym, fatty.
Yeah, exactly. So when you approach this with not necessarily the overwhelming desire that maybe Mike and I have had, do you think that impacts your ability to achieve that goal, or is it still something that you're going to drive hard at? Or are you like, if I lose 10 pounds, cool. If I don't,
Yeah. Like, I think for me, like, I definitely backtracked over the weekend. So I had a few nights of partying and drinking and eating terribly and just, not making the best decisions. So, yeah, for me, I don't know, like, I definitely want to lose, probably 15 more pounds. I mean, like I said, I had lost 10 pounds, but I'm scared to get back on the scale now. I
got one in the bathroom.
I'm good.
Well, and you have to remember, if you've been eating bad and drinking, then your body is holding on to
retaining
water.
all that. Yeah.
So not a good time to get on the scale
But
anymore.
also,
What
let
is it
yourself-
for every gram of carbohydrates? Your body holds on to 3 ounces of water.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Wow.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, but let yourself understand that at this point in your journey, restricting throughout would have felt more mental. It would have been heavier mental load to restrict through that because you wanted the connection with your friends.
Yeah.
You wanted to like be out. You wanted to see people. And it's like, I think it's easy to slip into the like, I'm going to strong arm my way to success. And it's like, that's harder on your body in the long run. It's like, you may have fluctuated 2 or 3 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is more, maybe closer to 5.
Yeah.
If you did a lot for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but the other thing is like, you also, humans are made to fluctuate.
Mm-hmm.
We're not made to be at the exact body weight. I mean, if anything, if women can teach you guys anything, it's that.
Yeah.
Women don't get to choose. We can operate through 5-pound fluctuations just for having a menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
Like, we don't get to choose that. It just happens. And we have to be okay with it. And that's why so many women don't own a scale, because it's such a mind fuck where you're just like, I can't tolerate the fact that I fluctuate. Why?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, that's true.
Especially because you know how to lose that again. It's not like this is a permanent state of being.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing, though, that you just said, though. knowing, I mean, like, that's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like,
Because you've done it a
yeah,
bunch.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of, I've got a big bet with a buddy at the gym. I have to lose a significant amount of weight this month because we're just fucking crazy like that.
Oof.
And
Woof.
it doesn't faze me. I'm like, yeah, I got to lose 25 pounds.
I need more sunshine to lose weight in January.
What's that?
I need more sunshine.
Oh,
I need more
No,
natural vitamin D to be like, let's
Yeah,
go, let's
yeah.
do it.
I
do this.
enjoy it though, and it doesn't, like, you talked about that moment of disgust. I remember I had one of those in, one of the second to last yo-yo. I sat down, we ate dinner. It was I made hamburgers, we made French fries, milkshakes, the whole fucking thing, about 5,000 calories, and I crushed it. And I sat there just wheezing, and I'm like, fuck it. I got up from the table and I went and walked 4 miles, and I did that for probably 80 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I had the one Oreo camping, and I gained 100 and some back.
Yeah.
But now I'm at that place where it's not a big deal to me. I know I'll lose it
Yeah.
because I work hard in the gym and
And
all
you've done
that.
the mental work.
Exactly. But I also understand that I don't have envy or jealousy of people with money, because I have so much anger towards what money has done to me in my life by family members valuing money over me, that I wish that those people the best, but I know what it takes to get to that point, and it ain't fun. Most of the time you have
Crushed
given
everything along the way. You steamrolled over everyone.
your
and-
relationships, your kids don't like you, but you made a bunch of money. Well, I don't want that. Where I am like that is in the gym and physical things. I don't want anyone to beat me because of my hand. And I've always been like that. I didn't realize that until this past year, that I have this unwielding desire to crush everyone near me. But I finally realized that, and now I'm like, I don't have to be like that. I'm just
Because you looked
fine.
at it. You allowed yourself to look at it for what it is.
And I understood. I didn't know that I was like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would get angry if somebody was stronger than me. But it's,
So you acknowledge the anger.
oh yeah, 100%. But I also said to myself, dude, you have one hand and you don't have the same muscle
You
structure.
have nothing to prove.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
to myself.
Yeah.
But that's who I've always had to prove to. No one else gave a shit. I mean, honestly, in my family, no one was championing me and stuff like that. So I always had to challenge myself. And I spent so much time making sure everyone else was happy. So that was the only place where I could challenge myself, because people would, oh, well, Will can't do that because he's no, fuck you. I'll do it better than you.
Yeah.
Because that's the mentality I had to create.
Yeah.
And so I know that, Mike, you'll get to a point where you're going to be happy. I put on 10 pounds over December probably. I don't give a fuck.
Just get COVID, you'll lose weight. It's cool.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not trying.
It's
to
nice.
That.
It's nice having someone in your corner, not besides you guys. You know, on a personal level, that's always like, I don't care what you look like. I love you for you.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
that
huge-
safe space that has to happen.
Because I'm
It
the one
has
that
to.
I'm the one that beats myself up and go, how could you like this? Like, how
Oh.
could you like what
And
this
everyone
is?
Bro.
everyone
you know?
deserves that. And let me tell you, after at my heaviest, we've never talked about this with my weight. At my heaviest, I was over 200 pounds.
Really?
I'm 5'4". That's real big. That's really big for my frame, right? And my husband met me at probably my tiniest. I was still training. I was still doing gymnastics, and I was still even though I had quit cheerleading because I moved states and things like that, I was still acting like an athlete, and I looked like an athlete. My body has changed so much over 16 years. I've been pregnant twice. I've been over 200 pounds once. I have been physically ill to the point where my skin looked green on camera.
Really?
Like a ninja
I've cut my
turtle.
hair short. I'll show you a picture
So
sometime.
you're the Grinch.
And
That's what I was thinking.
Donatello.
I also have kind of like olive skin tone, and I was really pale, and I was not well. But I have gotten well and then gotten sick again. I have got my body has changed so many times, and I've had those same conversations with my husband because he has never fluctuated with weight like that. Like
Some people are
when
just
I met
I
lucky
him,
hate people that are like that.
Yeah,
When
right.
I say it, I hate people that are like that. You can have a freaking.
my
you
husband
can
had a
eat
12 pack when I met him. Like, I mean, he was
a 12 pack,
trim.
like Bud Light or
Yeah,
what?
you'd
six
think.
packs.
Like he had a tinier waist than I did when I met him. He was ripped when I met him, and his body has only changed to the point where it's like his metabolism slowed a little bit, but he's still super muscular without having to do a dang thing. I don't understand. Like, and I have had to be like, I don't understand how you could want to be this and how you still attracted to this. And he's had to like grab me by the shoulders and be like, I didn't marry you for what you look like. He's like, I mean, I love the way you look. He's like, I love your hair. I love your eyes. He's
Your
like, I
hair
love
is
the
very
way
beautiful.
Well, thank you. It's so long right now. It's
Yes, I
outrageously long.
I was noticing that. I wasn't gonna.
It's
It
too
wasn't
long.
part of the conversation, but I was like, "You got really long." I
It's
actually
been up
thought if
almost
you had
every
the-
time we've seen each other,
yeah,
actually.
I almost thought you had extensions, but
No, this is my natural hair. It's
That's
really long.
awesome.
And it's really
You know what's
thick
something that's
and-
really weird, kind of off topic? My hair and nails and everything grows so much faster since I got vaccinated.
Oh.
So much faster.
really,
Like I used to
Weird.
get haircuts every 3 weeks, like clockwork, and it would be fine. Now I can only go about 2 weeks before it's about 3-week growth.
Whoa, that's an interesting thing to think about.
wow,
Huh.
totally.
And it's funny because I talked to my barber and I asked her, I said, have you noticed like I'm having to come in sooner? And she goes, yeah, I've noticed that people that are vaccinated are having to come in more often to
I
get
want
their
to
haircut.
explore that. That's interesting.
Wow,
More often.
That's fascinating.
I'm a
Well, my hair's
haircut-
like mermaid status right now. It's like I'm regretting the last haircut. It's so long. It's like well past. It's like at my natural waist, and it's getting to the point where it's like getting caught in things. It's
Yeah,
too
wow.
long. It's.
So you're gonna donate to Locks of Love?
I haven't decided because I have a tendency to like go real extreme when I get haircuts, or then I don't touch my hair for a really long time, and then
It's only
so-
10 inches.
yeah, it's like and 10 inches. My hair would still be long.
Oh yeah,
Like
Yeah.
it would still be brushing
So you
like my
could do it.
collarbone. Yeah, so I'm like maybe, but I don't know if they would accept my hair because it's been processed.
I don't think it matters.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
I'll look into it. But I'm grateful that my husband all along the way, because he has seen my body change so much. But we made a pact with each other when we first got married when we were really young. We were 21, and we made this pact with each other that if we were worried about each other's health, we would say something, and we would make sure that we were approaching weight, because I gained 40 pounds like that over like within weeks of being on birth control. My
Oh.
body and birth control were not friends.
birth control is a terrible thing,
nasty thing for
Terrible.
my body.
and it makes women crazy.
I was crazy. I stopped taking birth control, and within a week my husband was like emotional and being like, I missed you. Like he was just like, oh, where you been? Anyway, I gained weight so fast right after I got married that I was crying to him and being like, you must be like, who is this person that I married? Because I didn't even recognize myself. I had never gained weight like that. Anyway, everyone deserves to have someone in their life that is like, I love you for your insides. I love you for who you are, your soul, like the way your eyes light up when you da-da-da, and the way you help me when I'm this, that, and that. I mean, because that's the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
Like,
it's-
and that's the foundational safety, the sanctuary that is foundational. Like Gary, we were talking about the people that you're surrounded by and things like that. Everyone deserves to have sanctuary because you can't grow if you
Yeah.
don't. That's almost the definition of trauma is like, you just can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like you deserve to breathe emotionally, physically, spiritually,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, you're going to find yourself like skyrocketing because you got that. You've got that
I
sanctuary.
can't wait. I can't wait.
You just got to let yourself sit in the gross for a little bit. Okay. It's okay.
That sucks.
It may even be longer than a little bit, but
Yeah.
at least you understand it. I think this is a good place for
I think
us to-
2022 for me is going to be a gross year. Not in just the having to sit in it.
But it's going to feel so good when you're done.
It'll feel good when you're in it because you acknowledge that
What you're doing.
in it.
Yeah.
I think that that's a big part for a lot of us is once we feel all right being gross, that then you know that that process is moving along.
Feel, deal, to heal. You're in that place where you're acknowledging the feel so you can learn what the dealing means to you. And the healing just naturally comes. You don't have to do a dang thing. It just feels good. It feels like balm for the soul. Like it's, and I can only say this because I'm still in it, you know, like, because that's a process that you will do forever now. Feel, deal, heal. Like, because new things come up. You change careers, you move, your kids have problems, you have a problem with your significant other. Life is always full of the ups and downs. But the difference is that you will go, I'm no longer like worried and fearful because I know it's going to be okay. Because you've been through it and you're going through it for the first time and you're letting yourself go through it. And it's going to just, it's a beautiful thing to watch because I know how wonderful it is and I know it sucks. But that's why we do this.
Yeah.
That's why we talk.
Mike, you're beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
With that, I'm going to cut this episode and we're going to immediately start recording the second part of it.
Part two.
Because I think we need to give people
We haven't
a
even
little bit of a
I
break.
want to know about yours.
I know. We'll get there. So with that, we gone.